Here, and let me start my introduction today. Michelle, who's going to be joining me in a second, is here, and actually I will bring her on and then I'll introduce the live session. All right.
Hey.
There you are. Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
How are you? It's good to finally meet you.
Yeah. I know, and especially since I've sent you like review copies and stuff at Funimation, it's good to put a face with a
Let me actually introduce you to everyone, and I'll get us started here. And I'll just start for anyone who's tuning in who maybe tuning in because of you and not know who I am. I'm the director of Beneath the Tangles, and I'm really happy to be with everyone today. We've been talking with voice actors, voice actresses all summer long, kind of doing a series of these, and we have another interview today with Michelle Lee, who is let me kind of name some of your roles. Sumide in Assassination Classroom. You've been in Day Day Live. You play Yasuhisa in Tokyo Ghoul. A lot of really great and a lot of great and prominent roles with an anime that a lot of our followers really enjoy. So super happy. Let's go ahead and get started. How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, we're getting ready to start school in next week for our county. So I've got a little one that's going into first grade. So yeah, we're getting ready to do that.
Are you all in person or are you doing virtual? How's it working?
Yeah, we're doing in person for right now, but I mean, like, of course, cases are on the rise again, and we don't know how it's going to go, but for right now, it's in person. So
Yeah, my kids started school again today. This is their first day. They're I have an 8th grader and a 6th grader, so it's their first year of middle school. So they're out there trying to figure it out. This is their first time back in person since the pandemic started for us.
Yeah.
It's a crazy time out there. So, I actually wanted to talk about your username. So, first of all, everyone, please give Michelle a follow. Name K Drama Foodie is the same on Twitter as it is here on
Yes.
Instagram. So that's a great username. I mean, that's how is that not taken already?
Oh, it's because I took it a very long time ago. So it's been my username forever. It was my username back in, like, you remember when LiveJournal was a thing? Yeah.
Yes. Wow. That's ancient history.
Yeah.
Blogger, Zanga, all those.
Yeah.
I might as well ask you. Well, I want to ask. So the foodie part, is that foodie in general, or is that Korean foodie?
It's foodie in general. I'm not very picky. I will eat whatever. As long as it tastes good, I will eat whatever.
Do you,
Hmm?
do you do a lot of cooking, or are you going?
I try to. It's hard. I mean, like, when kids are littler, it's a lot harder to, especially like if they're picky about eating, and then you're like, well, I could make something delicious and healthy, but if you're not going to eat it, then it's not.
Then you
It's not worth my time.
different meals at least. You gotta make the kids meal, and then you gotta make the adult.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a tough time. First grade's a nice age. They're in school. They communicate with you better. It's a
Yeah.
age. What about Korean dramas? Have you been watching any Korean dramas?
I have not had a ton of time lately. The last one that I watched, and I was really late to the train for it, but I watched I think it was like What's Wrong with Secretary Kim, or like, what was the name of it for the drama? I read the manga too, or the manhwa too, and then I watched the was it What's Wrong with Secretary Kim? I can't remember. But yeah, that was like the last one I watched.
We're yeah, I'm kind of catching up these days because yeah, What's Wrong with Secretary Kim? That's the name of it, by the way. Because I used to watch when I was in college, like so long ago. That's like my sassy girl, like that long.
Yeah, yeah.
And I watched for years, and now that Netflix just kind of recommends us Korean dramas all the time. So, my wife is watching so many, and I'm like, I pretend like I'm just kind of there tuning in, but I'm really enjoying them myself too. It's, it's nice that the whole world is like, wow, Korean dramas.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I will say a lot of my non-Korean friends are probably watch more Korean dramas than I do at this point. So it's been very interesting.
Isn't that about music, right? Like K-pop. Like I feel like all my
Yeah.
are listening to more of it and watching more K-dramas than we are. That's really a lot of fun. Do you know Caitlin, right? Caitlin Glass?
Yes, uh-huh.
Sent me a whole list of recommendations because I was like, I don't even know where to start anymore. And she's like, I got this list. And I was like, oh, this is great. I know where to do you listen to any K-pop these days?
I do. Yeah. So the nice thing is especially with like YouTube Music, once you have like I don't know, like you pull up BTS or something like that, and then it has like the recommended on the bottom, like so it's been very easy to like kind of just let the autoplay go, and you're like, oh, I really like that one, and then you just add it to your playlist.
Do you have a favorite these days? Or a favorite?
um, I kind of just listen to whatever, and my taste in music is really eclectic, so it's just I kind of just let it play, and then it's whatever comes up. But I like BTS a lot, especially since they're so huge right now. It's hard to get away from it.
But they are great. I mean, they're
Hmm.
so good. But you know what? I don't know if you've noticed this, but I feel like the K-pop these days isn't super super different than it was like 10 or 20 years ago. It's just the world's kind of caught up with it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
like I wish some of these older groups and bands and I wish they had gotten their due. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah, it's hard, right? Because now with social media exploding, it's so much easier for bands and stuff to connect with their fans. Like BTS is huge on social media, and like I have to wonder. I went to see like HOT in concert back in the day. Yeah, so
that
like I I have to wonder if this was around back then, if they would have exploded more. So
yeah, I mean it was yeah, back then you had to go to like a or order from like CD Japan or something like that to get the music and now it's just everywhere, so easily accessible.
oh yeah.
No, it's a great time though. Okay, well, why don't we talk about anime since and actually, let's see. I kind of I want to. People are asking questions right now.
Okay.
You can't see them, so I'll ask them to you. But I want to encourage all the followers out there. Please submit questions through the question function, especially. That's the easiest way for me to see them. And I do started out at the very beginning of the conversation. I want to
Okay.
hear from your time at Funimation, not as a voice actor, right?
Yeah.
And so I feel like your story about becoming getting into voice acting must be different from the usual story. And I just never heard it. So I'd like to ask if you could just let us know how you made that transition into voice acting.
Yeah. So I worked at Funimation for a while. I started off as an intern there with their PR department, and then I transitioned over to the social media and became the social media manager. So, it was a lot of dealing with the various platforms and then also going to conventions and everything. So it was really fun. And then they regularly had open casting calls over on the production side. And I was really involved with my local community theater and like, did drama in school. And so I was like, well, why don't I just go and try? So I walked over to the production side and tried out and got a part in something. And so then the rest is history from there.
So did you so you had a theater background. It's not you didn't just stumble onto it because you were working for Funimation.
hmm
Did you um did you study theater in college or
I did not. So I mostly did community theater, and so and primarily I love musicals, and that's pretty much all I did for community theater. Um, and so I did a bunch of productions well, when I was I lived in Connecticut before we moved to Texas, and then did community theater in Connecticut, and then did some in Texas, and then in college I took a lot of voice classes, but for singing as opposed to and not for acting. So
but you've done some singing in anime? Have you had that opportunity?
yeah, I got to sing for Shadow's House, which was really nerve-wracking. Yeah, because I hadn't really sung like I guess on screen before, so I was really nervous. But Don Bennett, who did the musical direction for it, was amazing and so nice and like really was just very gracious. I was like, okay.
I can imagine how nerve-wracking that must be. Like it makes
Yeah.
the voice part and then all right. Singing. That's a nice segue because someone, quite Kawaii Heart 02, who's one of our followers, her name is Jess. She asks, or she says, "Hi Michelle," and then she asks, "Okay, I'm mixing up all my words here. Hi Michelle, I love Shadow's House. Which doll would you be closest to?" And I guess she's
Oh,
I've personally, who would you feel closest to of these characters?
um, gosh. Other than Rosemary, who's my character, I would say probably uh, I like maybe Barbie because she's so funny. Her character is so interesting. So like, I mean, I know their characters don't super get along in the show, but I think that it would be fun. Like, she's one of those that I think would be fun to be around and just be like, well, at least I know what you're thinking.
You seem like you like to laugh, so that feels like maybe good good match. That's such a Shadow's House is such a unique show. I hope a lot of people are watching it. It's got really nice aesthetic, right? As they like to say. Um,
Uh-huh.
I love the voice acting on the show. I feel like it gives you all a chance to shine. And um, there's a pretty large cast, right? A lot of different characters and the chance to voice multiple characters for the dolls.
Yeah.
That's really a lot of fun. Um, I wanted to kind of do a little game with you where we kind of go through some of your characters, including Rosemary, Mary Rose, and Mary Rose from Shadow's House. So let me read what I had planned here. It's pretty simple.
Okay.
Really easy. So what I'll do is I'll name the anime, and then it's an anime that you've acted in. And then if you could give me one word that comes to mind that describes your role in that series, okay?
Okay.
Describes the character in that series. What's the word that comes to mind? And then if you could talk a little bit about that character, voicing that character, what you like about that character, anything that you'd like. Okay. So
Okay.
we'll start with Shadow's House.
Okay. So Mary Rose is more princely, is what the when we were doing the auditions for, that was the side note that we had for that character. So princely, which you haven't, I don't think she's come up yet. Um, in the show in terms of the dub. I think that's should be, I think, episode 10, which I don't think has aired yet. But that was really fun. And Rosemary, I would say what describes her best is maybe motherly or sister. So she's very caring and nurturing, which is great. I love it for whatever reason, I guess, because I do tend to be like very motherly to my friend group to begin with. Those are the types of roles that I get more often. So
Great. I'm going to mention, we'll go to the next one now, which is Date A Live.
Okay. So Origami is crazy. She is my favorite character that I have done, I think, to date so far. And it's because she's so, I guess, like complicated. And she also says the most outrageous things and acts like really crazy. And it's just so much fun and all the different like situations that she gets into with Shido. And it was really hard not to just be laughing all the time in the booth, especially if like after Josh would come in and record, and then like if I came in after that to record, and he's just so talented, and like the lines that he delivered were so funny. So it was really a lot of fun to play her, and then especially with the last season where you got to see her backstory, her arc. And like how tragic it was is just, so I got to play like super weird, kind of crazy, and then also super tortured, and that's been incredible to do.
We've gotten a few comments about that series here, and Eric says that he loves the show and how you play origami. And then
Thank you.
he also says he can't wait to see season 4. And the White BW says, "Are you excited for season 4 to possibly be dubbed?"
I really hope it gets dubbed, but again, it's one of those things where it's like, it's up to the licensors if they can, you know, or if Funimation can get the rights to it, and then like if they get dubbing rights to it. It's a whole process.
Are all the previous 3 seasons dubbed?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully that can. All right. So the next anime I want to mention is Tokyo Ghoul.
Badass
Yes.
for Corona. Yeah. So she's awesome. And I think her character is like the first one where I got to be legitimately crazy, like do screaming crazy, like insane. And then the whole, especially in the last season where she like kind of I maybe I shouldn't do spoilers, but yeah, there's like she does a lot. She gets a lot more crazy, and I keep saying crazy, but yeah, I can't really think of anything else to really describe her. I wish that they had been able to expand more on their backstories and stuff, because there's so much more material in the manga that didn't make it into the anime.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think I find it interesting that you talk about motherly roles, but then like when I was looking at clips that you've done, it's a lot of the kind of like I would say stretching of your voice and and things like that, right? I mean, do you see yourself as someone who's able to kind of be able to do these very different kinds of roles, different types of voicing in different series?
I would like to think that. I mean, of course, obviously it's up to the directors and casting, like what they potentially see in a role, but I like to think that I have a fairly wide range. And I also narrate audiobooks as well. And with audiobooks, you play every single character, which is really amazing. And it's something that I really like about the audiobook genre. So, you know, it's not bound by gender or like age or anything. You can be, you have to literally voice every single character. And so I've been having to play like voice guy roles as well as like the female counterpart for dialogue and stuff. And it's been really interesting and fun to do.
You know, I didn't really look into that part of your career. What kind of audiobooks do you, I mean, is there like a specific genre you typically do, or,
Um, yeah, there's not a particular genre so far. And I'm still pretty new to it. I just started picking it up last year to do, and I've done like fantasy. I've done some more risque romance stuff, and like some young adult stuff. So it's kind of like whatever you can get. Same as with any, I guess, other roles. So
and you audition for this as well?
yeah, so the audition process for audiobooks is very similar in terms of like auditioning for a an anime part. So they'll put up like a short excerpt from the book. And of course, it's going to be like longer pieces because typically with audiobook auditions, you're going to record maybe like typically 5 to 10 minutes of text. And usually they like to see you showcase like if there's dialogue in the book, the different characters, the major characters, how they sound. And then you send that to whoever the rights holder is. If it's like you can either go through like an indie publishing company, which is a lot smaller, or you can typically like the big five or the big publishing houses like Simon and Schuster, Hachette, and like Penguin Random House kind of stuff. They have their own roster of narrators that they typically use, and so it's really hard to get noticed by a big publisher. So I've done almost exclusively just small indie books right now.
Trying to break in maybe to the
Yeah, that would be really nice, but again, you know, it's hard.
um to me it feels like that would be really challenging though, to have to read. I mean, like when I think about audiobooks, that's hours and hours and hours of reading. Do you like do you break that up into segments? I mean, how do you keep
Yeah.
all that?
Yeah, it's really hard because typically with an audiobook, you know, the consumer is only going to see the finished product and say like it's an 8-hour audiobook. Typically for 1 hour one finished hour is what one finished hour, usually takes about on average maybe 2 hours for really good narrator to record. And then after that, there's, you know, the hours of work that go into editing and mastering the audio files for distribution. So typically, like with one finished hour of an audiobook, you're going to see it's really probably like 4 hours worth of work that goes into that 1 hour. So it's a lot.
You
um,
you have to edit your own audio?
it depends. A lot of more prolific narrators will outsource it to editors and stuff. But you know, if you're starting out, sometimes it's not cost effective to do. So I have been editing my own stuff, which has been a really interesting learning curve.
Yeah, that's a totally different skill set. Gosh, all right. So, okay, so we went down that path, but back to I'll ask. Let me do one more anime of yours, and then I'll get to a couple of these questions here from the audience. I had one more. No, I have two more. How about a certain scientific railgun?
Oh, so Junko, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sweet, I would say. She's super nice and very like she just is very into her queen. So I like her character a lot too. She's very bubbly personality and like it's a very happy kind of character and I really like it's very refreshing to play.
Very good. All right, I've got one more, which is
hmm
Nation Classroom.
So Sumire, she again the motherly character, and I would say probably of the characters that I have voiced, that Sumire is, she's probably the closest to my personality. She loves food and she looks out for like all of her classmates and her friends and like so I would say that she is probably closest to how I am in real life.
That's funny that you talk about the personality aspect that she's motherly, but also she loves food. You know, that's
Yeah.
yeah. All of us can relate to that. That's a fun. All right. Let me bring up a question. By the way, again, everyone, if you have any questions, go ahead and submit them. I'll try to ask some. This is from Average Fanboy who asks, "What role would you say has been the most challenging?" And then he also adds, "Also, thanks for voicing origami."
Oh, the most challenging. Um, Probably origami, I would say, just because her range is so wide. Especially this last season where you see how tragic her backstory is. So it was very emotionally draining just to record some of those scenes, especially when she goes back and sees like the whole situation with her parents and everything. And so that was the most challenging to really nail. And, um, you know, on top of the emotional aspect, like the battle scenes, making all the battle noises and the fight noises. And um,
So
like she kind of just had it all, you know, like and then when she lost her memory and then was like a completely different personality. And so it was really, it's been my favorite part because it was so challenging. But like, I like the character a lot too.
there's like almost like four different roles in one, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. So it was like a bunch of different characters in one. So that was really fun.
When you when you I was going to say when you go in, but you're doing, I imagine you're doing recording from home now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of a lot of the Funimation titles are being recorded remotely. Excuse me. And so I've been very fortunate in that I get to record from home because I live in Maryland and Funimation is in Texas, obviously. So it's been great that Funimation has been working with all the actors to get them recording safely and not compromise on the quality of the output. So I've been really fortunate in that aspect.
What happens when things, if they do get to a point again where it's back to in-person recording?
I don't know. Like
Ever?
before COVID,
Yeah.
before COVID happened, I would go up to New York, and there's a studio up in New York that Funimation will use to do like remote sessions. And so I had been going up there to record when I had to do, when I wasn't able to go down to Texas.
Mhm.
So I imagine if they require that they'll probably go back to doing something like that again if people aren't able to come into the studio. But they have this whole system down with recording remotely. I don't know that they would necessarily go back to having to require an actor unless it's like, you know, you're local or something like that. But for all of the actors that are not local to Texas, I think that like recording from home is probably going to be the new norm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are certainly advantages to it. Being able to work
Yeah.
outside of DFW, for instance, right,
Uh-huh.
and so forth. But speaking of which, do you miss being in the Dallas area?
I do. All of our family is in Maryland. No, I do. I miss Texas in that I miss the people in Texas. So all my friends that are still there that I'm not able to see right now. But we moved to Maryland because our family is in Maryland. So it was really hard having or like a newborn without any family support in Texas. So that's, you know, that's why we we moved back.
Can I tell you, years ago, I was going to move out to Virginia to work for the federal government, and
Uh-huh.
the opposite. Like my family's here in Texas, and so I accepted the job. We're ready to move, and at the last minute, I was like, I don't think we can do this because our kids were they were 2 and 4, 2 and 3, and it was just like, yeah, it's a lot of work raising a family.
It is. It's a lot. It's a lot. And it was really tough. And we wanted our kid to grow up around, you know, family and see his grandparents and aunts and uncles and everything. So we're like, yeah, this is the right decision to move back.
Good, good. Um, let's see. Let me see if I've got any other questions here. Um, Eric again, he says his favorite episode was when Origami wears a dog costume. That's funny. He also mentions that my mom and sister listen to BTS music. That's always fun. All right. Well, guys, if you have any other questions, feel free to ask them. I'm gonna talk to Michelle a little bit longer before we wrap up today. So definitely get any questions you have into here. And let's see what we've got. Sorry, endless scrolling here. Um, are you recording anything right now besides Shadow's house?
Um, I So I'm the mom in Higurashi. So whenever she pops up, yeah.
Is about to return. I just saw that right for this season right now. So um,
Mhm.
yeah, and I was gonna. Oh gosh, question at the tip of my mind. I was going to ask about the process of voice acting a little bit because we were talking about origami and the kind of the variant of how her role, you know, and the things the ways you had to voice her. And I was going to ask you, is there much preparation that you do before you go into the studio, and also how much you rely on the directors to guide your performance?
Yeah, so um, typically for me, I if I know which episode it's gonna be, I'll kind of preview the episode before I have my session. But you don't get to see the script until you go into your session, and so there's not a ton of prep that you can do other than if you choose to watch the episode beforehand, so you kind of have like context, I guess. But you do largely rely on the director and you know them giving you the information like you know in this scene this happens, this is the background, and then you read the line and then they try to place it and make sure that it matches the flaps if there are flaps, and or if the director's like, well, you know, let's try that again, but like maybe bring that more energy to it, or let's like kind of smooth it out if it was like a little bumpy kind of thing. So yeah, it largely depends on, you rely so much on the director for these sessions.
So is it do you when you do look like if you watch the original language one beforehand, I mean, do you prefer to do that, or I guess in my mind, I wonder if I would, as an actor, if I would kind of get a little mixed up because you want to give your performance, right? But then you've got this other performance you've already seen of the same character.
Yeah, so it really depends on the actor what they prefer. Because some actors will, go into a session not having any prior information. They don't want to be influenced by somebody else's performance, and they want to bring their own performance to it. I am very like anal about stuff, I guess. Like I want to know everything that happened and the backstory. And for Data Live, when we were recording season 3, I actually ended up getting the light novels as
Oh,
well. And I read through the light novels because I was like, I need to know what,
yeah.
what happens. So I tend to consume as much information as I can prior to going into anything. But that's just my personal approach to it. Everybody is different in the way that they come to a role.
Do you think that helps your performance?
I think it helps for me because that's just kind of my process. But that's not going to work for everybody. So it's hard to say, it's not a one size fits all kind
Yeah.
of way. Yeah.
I feel like that would help my anxiety. You know what I mean?
It
Like,
does. I have anxiety really bad. I have just anxiety in general. And so for me, anything that I can do to kind of control the situation helps me a lot. So for me, going into a session not knowing anything before I go in gives me really bad anxiety, as opposed to going into a session where I have seen the episode and I kind of know what's going to happen and kind of the general mood of each scene helps helps me feel a lot better. It calms me down a lot.
I can't imagine like, okay, I'm showing up, gotta perform.
Yeah,
Like, that's yeah.
yeah.
All right, I've got one more question from the audience, and then I'll close shop here.
Okay.
From Average Fanboy again. He asks, um, and maybe this is you can kind of answer either or. It's kind of a two-part question, but he says, for aspiring voice actors, what advice would you give, or what's some advice that you wish someone gave you?
Um, so for aspiring voice actors, I would say definitely get acting experience because I mean that is definitely the large part of the job is acting, obviously. So getting involved in community theater or taking classes, getting involved in drama at school if you're still in high school, middle school. So doing that, but also getting, I think what I wish that somebody had told me earlier is getting familiar with some of the technical aspects of voice acting too. And you don't have to do this, I would say, but if you're familiar kind of with the technical engineering aspect of voice acting as well, like what it takes to edit or master an audio file, and getting familiar with some of those programs. Like if Audacity is a free program that you can download and play around with, but just recording yourself and then listening back to your performance, and then kind of fine tuning your ear. The more that you record and listen to yourself and can critique your own performance, the better you'll get. So I kind of wish that somebody had it's one of those pieces of information I wish I had before, to a good way to practice, not only going out into community theater or doing theater or getting involved with productions and stuff like that, or doing, especially coaching sessions are amazing. So if you can afford to hire a coach and get some coaching sessions that will drastically improve your performance by having somebody else critique you and be like, okay, these are the areas that you need to work on, or this is your strength, that kind of thing. And then, you know, also listening to yourself and improving. So.
And it really is a craft. It's something that
Yeah.
develop and get better at, and
Yeah.
you know, I I started out all this stuff by writing for a blog, and then I started writing for a magazine for a little bit, and I had an editor. And once I had an editor, my writing got 3 times better. You know, it was like, wow,
Yeah.
feedback and realizing, oh, some areas I didn't know I was weak in, or that maybe I did know I was weak in, but didn't know how to improve, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. So definitely like practicing, but getting coaching and listening to yourself and improving, being able to critique yourself is huge. Like if you know what you need to work on and can improve in that area, it's amazing.
Really great advice and a great way to end our time today. Thank you, Michelle, for joining us. I just,
Yeah.
before we leave off, I want to quickly mention something that we alluded to at the beginning, which was that Michelle and I connected years ago through Funimation, where she would send me review discs. So I appreciated that so much.
I know. Yeah, it was so funny when you reached out and you were like, I don't know if you remember me. I was like, of course I remember you.
Sure, it was you. I was like, I think, you know, I think this is her. This can't be a coincidence. So
Yeah.
for the best. Like seriously, so nice and so responsive. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
So really, it makes me especially happy to see how much success you're having. You know, it's like, oh, when, you know. So the good work, and everyone, please follow Michelle. Please follow her here on Instagram. Again, K-Drama Foodie is also her name on Twitter, so she's very active there too. So if you guys use Twitter, head over there and follow her as well. And if you only caught the tail end of this video, we're gonna post it everywhere. We'll post it here on Instagram. We'll also post it over on YouTube and on our blog. So watch it then too. So thank you again for joining us, Michelle. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and thank you out there who followed along today, and thank you for joining us, and have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.